So this week is a little bit different. I have a gig worker in the gig economy that we're all in who uh, kind of runs a bunch of businesses off his businesses. And it's something we talk about often here on the show is, this is your own business. If you're fighting for independent contractor and you want to be in that majority who wants to keep that independent contractor status and be able to do a multitude of things, then basically this is a perfect example of that. I mean, like, his name is Red Conrad. And before I move on any farther, I'd like to thank him for coming on today. Thank you, Red.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, I mean, this is what we talk about a lot is that, Prop 22, AB5, what's happened happening in California and isn't really going so well, is being used as a model on, in Massachusetts right now. And it's also being used as a model, as a example for the PRO Act. And it's always a weird thing when we talk about that, because I try and take both sides and understand, but it really is kind of using not failed, but it's not a good model what they tried to do. And it will take away from all of us having the freedom of flex earning. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about with Red today, because he's a perfect example of somebody who has a multitude of things going on. But not only that, he's condensed it into his own website, and some of it's pretty interesting. So he's got his delivery service, he's got his rideshare, he's got and then there's a assorted other businesses he's got going on here too. So this is a perfect example, because this is how I live too. I have many different gigs. So I guess, Red, how long have you been doing the gig economy first?
Well, the rideshare and delivery I started 3 years ago. I really got into it because I had a fish market prior, but then the state of Florida changed regulations on me, and I couldn't afford the new regulations. So upon shutting that down, I needed money quick. So I got a temporary job working at a local Circle K. And then one of my friends was doing Uber. So I had to purchase my van. Somehow the car died. So figuring I had a new vehicle, why not jump into that? I hated Uber, started with Lyft, did Lyft for a year and a half, 2 years. And while I was doing Lyft, I branched out into Instacart, which in the beginning was okay, but then it kind of got retarded with all the damn bots. So I went into DoorDash, Point Pickup, and a few others. And that's kind of how I rolled into my own service. But I've been doing delivery about a year and a half.
Right. So on the rideshare side, like if I go to your let me see if I can do this. If I go to your rideshare link on here, so if I go to redconrad.com, it actually takes you it'll relocate you to his landing page, which is a different thing, but probably easier just for everybody to remember. Redconrad.com will take you to basically the base of all of his businesses. So, but then if I click rideshare, it says that you only do your area. I see, your Uber, Lyft, traditional taxi, alternative, and all this has links, people. You can read all about this. But so, I mean, I guess the first question that comes to mind is, you're obviously carrying the right insurance, which many drivers don't, we know, but you're carrying a commercial license. Are you doing some of this on your own? Is this like when you say you're Uber, Lyft, but I can get book a ride or whatever. When I'm doing that, am I doing that through your, like, an LLC, or am I doing that through traditional rideshare apps?
Well, technically it's through me. It means my service, but I'm using the RideConnect platform. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
What is it?
RideConnect.
Okay.
They've been out for a while, but the developers have been kind of slow adding features and whatnot to it. But you can go on there to start your own rideshare network, which is what I did. Though he will tell you as you set up your account to make sure you have whatever your local area requires, insurance wise and all that crap, because it's not Uber or Lyft. It's your own thing. He just provides the platform for you to connect to your passengers.
I want to pause there because the funny thing is that what Red's talking about, you're all supposed to have anyway. We talk about this on the show often, but people think that because you have Uber and Lyft, that you don't need that. You really do need to tell your insurance company and work with them because they have different plans, and it really doesn't cost that much more these days to have the basics. But if you get caught without it, it could cost you the rest of your earnings for life. So I would highly recommend to talk to your insurance agent. It's not faux pas. It's not something you shouldn't discuss, but go ahead.
I'm going to follow up with you on that. I have a friend that, like I told you, that got me into Uber in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't carry any extra coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And she got into an accident, personal time with the family, going out to see other family members. And because her insurance company found out that on the side she's also doing Uber, even though it was a personal accident,
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't have the extra coverage, she kind of got screwed out of that.
Yeah.
So,
hey man, we've heard of people getting, like me, I make sure that these days I don't have stickers. Everything is something that, if it's Uber, Lyft, whatever it is, it's just kind of a magnet that I
right.
put on when I'm using it. Because we've heard of too many stories where people just having a Lyft sticker, getting in an accident with passengers, their insurance was going, well, you're driving for Lyft. Because they'd send an adjuster out, see the car smash, see the Lyft on the window, and know that that was almost an out for them.
All right.
So it's a horror story that, again, people, yeah, I mean, he just gave another example. So the girl who was doing it didn't have the right insurance had she been in an accident with passengers, but this was with just her personal need of the car and might have been taken advantage of because of having that Lyft sticker. So you can have it and it's not a big deal. Just make sure you call your insurance agent. I know that, when I started in 2014, it was a bit of a kick up to get commercial insurance, but these days they do have an insurance that they've got some kind of, it's more of a midway point. You don't have to pay what you had to in the beginning. So these days it's a lot better.
Well, if you're doing just Uber or Lyft, all you need is the rideshare addendum or the ride, or some insurance companies call it. But if you're doing your own thing, most insurance companies confuse the terminology, which screws up a lot of their customers. But there's a business insurance and then the commercial insurance. The commercial insurance is the high top end. If it's only you and your personal vehicle, all you need is the business insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bring that up to an insurance agent and they tell you it's the same thing, get another agent because they know what they're talking about. Business insurance and commercial insurance are two different things. Commercial insurance you need if you're your own LLC with over 5 vehicles in your fleet. But if it's just you using your personal vehicle, it would be the business insurance. It's more expensive than personal, but it's less expensive than the commercial.
But you're using the business for one vehicle, and that's okay.
Right.
Okay.
The minute I hire on a fleet and my company owns a fleet, then I got to go the next step up with the insurance.
Right. But I mean, like, again, I guess what I'm trying to get at, since we hit on this, was that I remember a time when people were just onboarding and making so much money and not even paying attention. And we got, if you're thinking you don't need it, remember, this is the same company that gave you no training videos, nothing, just told you you're onboarded, background check done, download the app, turn it on, go. I mean, right. Other than that, you had to get onto YouTube. You had to get onto all these other platforms and find your own how-to information if you really wanted to learn stuff, because they couldn't, people, because we've talked about this. By doing so, they would then be calling you an employee. And we've even debated the fact of, like, even though they're needed, the sexual misconduct videos that Uber and Lyft make you watch almost make you an employee by that, because they, as a IC, they shouldn't be able to make you watch anything, but that's another story. But regardless, the days of just trying to make a bunch of money and see what happens, really just call your insurance. I'm sure they'll work a deal out with you, especially if you have any kind of record with them going back any amount of time, and you'll be surprised how little it is to be fully covered.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Of course, they want to know what you're doing. They're your insurance provider. So they want to know if you're, traveling with passengers and things of that nature. I don't know. But anyway, so people can book through you. You've got your own LLC set up. So obviously, that's kind of how I was too, like I had some they moved the new Denver airport way out. So back in the day, I had a bunch of pilots who just were like, they must have gotten too many bad Uber Lyft drivers, because my vehicle was always spotless, cleaned, awesome.
Right.
And so they would just be like, hey, can you, when I need a ride, and they need like a ride 2 to 3 times in a week, or no times 1 week, but they were just pilots, so they needed to get out there a lot. And
Right.
I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, just call me, And so I kind of had a handshake thing going with some of these guys. And um luckily I do have an LLC as something else, but I if I went back to a service like that, I would do what you're doing. I would actually register the service. But um I'm sure that you've picked up a lot of people who, obviously, for you to do that, it's been some Uber Lyft customers wanting to know if they can book you. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that's what happens. That's the nature of, I mean, if you're in an Uber, they want to know what the Lyft rates are. If you're in a Lyft, they want to know what the Uber rates are. So of course, what you do for them is much better. Cause I was looking, and like, you can like almost schedule a day, because I see
Yeah.
like grocery shopping, tasks, errands. I mean, basically, so I can look at each one of these and I can tasks, errands. Okay, that's roadie, or one of those, local delivery, that's Instacart, that's you know probably food delivery would be in this too, I don't know, in one. But it's like every one of yours is all the different niches of the gig economy, and it's just rather cool. Do you make most of your money through your website, through booking?
Sort of. I mean, more of it comes into the delivery service and the ride service.
Mhm.
But pre-COVID, a lot of it was rides. It was really
Well,
good
I
money back
meant
then.
rideshare
But
delivery. We're a gig economy podcast, even though it's called Rideshare Rodeo. I mean, that's because we're most of my background. I just mean through all of it. So yeah, let's take delivery on then and say, I mean, are you doing more through your delivery site now that you're a ways in, as opposed to just getting on the platforms?
right now, it's probably pretty even.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I am in the process of working on expanding my business. So hopefully, with the expansion will come more business, more revenue. So I can hopefully break free of the gig platforms.
Right. Well, I just asked because I want, I know that a lot of people, especially with the shopping and stuff, like that's why we've had people like, we had the CEO of Dumpling on the podcast who, that's a platform where a lot of gig workers would be confused, because it is your own business right out of the gate, and you got to run it. You got to build your customer base. But I would think that people who get a good shopper or a good delivery driver, and then were to land on your site and see that you do it all, would be, like, this is great. And if they already had a good encounter with you, I mean, why wouldn't they use you for all these services?
Right.
I mean, seriously, I mean, I've had horrible drivers. I've had great drivers. I've had horrible deliveries. I've had great deliveries. Are those people putting in the extra effort? And when you meet those people, I always, I mean, rideshare especially, I would always tip, but I would tip really well if the car was clean and the driver could read whatever was going on with me at the time. And either conversation or no conversation or whatever, I would tip accordingly, but I always tipped good regardless. So but I would think that you would be doing great, because you'd be landing somebody, and then you could, I don't know how you advertise it, so I'm being careful around this, but if you stapled a card, or anything, or if you followed up with people, or if you had them in your ride share and were able to say, hey, I do everything, by the way, and you're taking them home from the airport, all that kind of stuff, I would think would play into, you just being able to build something really awesome.
Yeah, if it comes up in conversation, I'll bring it up. I
Right.
also have business cards, and I advertise a lot on Facebook.
Right.
Though lately, Facebook has been giving me issues. Next week is the 1 year anniversary for the delivery service. So I was trying to promote a really big discount in celebration of being in business for 1 year. And I had like 4 or 5 attempts. I tried to get that ad posted, and it wouldn't post. Facebook then gets back to me today telling me that it goes against their community guidelines. It's like, I'm offering discount on my services. How does that go against community guidelines? I'm trying to celebrate an anniversary here. Like,
Maybe you need to contact them back with the ride share that you the rideshare company you're connected through that lets you do the LLC? I forgot its name already.
The rideshare is RideConnect.
RideConnect. Maybe you need to say,
Signed
hey, I
off with a
used
discount for the
RideConnect to
delivery
do
service.
this. I'm a legitimate business. My guess is they saw rideshare in you and they were like, this guy isn't a rideshare company. But that's just my guess.
Well, they can have the documents. I mean, I am registered.
Right. I mean, but I'm just, they probably don't have your documents though, right? I mean,
We have next.
right. I mean, I would almost tell them like, yeah, I have any document you need to show that this is legit and that's not okay. And but I'm not a big advocate of Facebook anyway, because I think that I don't know. I mean, all these platforms are getting weird, but I think Facebook has been one of the worst for a long time. But yeah, I don't know. So I see, you've got your delivery, you've got this. We forgot to even touch on what market are you in Florida?
Technically, it's the Jacksonville market going by the gig apps, but I'm down in Putnam County, which is like the lower, what direction is it? West? The lower western side of the market.
Okay. So what's the population like where you are?
Oh man, not big at all. I think the whole county's only got maybe 40,000 people.
Okay.
And it almost doubled in size since I've been living here, but it's still pretty small, pretty rural.
Is it flooded with gig workers like most markets?
Oh yeah, wasn't this bad, when I first started, but since COVID happened, it's gotten horrible.
Right. Yeah. Well, since COVID started recovering, I think. Because in the beginning of COVID, you couldn't onboard enough people for delivery. Everybody wanted delivery. In the very beginning, there weren't even enough drivers in most markets, even littler ones. It was kind of weird.
Right.
But I think that's because it was at that point in April when nobody knew what the heck was going on, and they were all just not willing to go out at all. So, anybody that would be willing to deliver their food, it was like, well, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, so you worked straight through the pandemic?
Yep.
Obviously,
Definitely.
I mean, like all other markets in the beginning, you probably did much, much better. You got those big cash tips. You got everybody I know even people who hadn't done delivery ever and had done rideshare who pivoted on that one day when the CARES Act got released and we knew about COVID, who pivoted to delivery only, they were raging with money in almost every market I know. The ones that are less paying, the ones that are bigger paying, whatever. But they were raging. And yeah, I'm sure that it's kind of the same for you. But I know, so, okay, so what do you prefer? That you've done rideshare, you've tried Instacart, or you've done Instacart, but now you prefer the delivery platforms. I hear this all the time from people that they prefer the delivery platforms. Why and which ones? Which is your favorite? Or which one is most used?
I prefer delivery because it's a lot less mileage for the same amount of money or more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say close at home, because when I was doing Uber and Lyft, I had to go all the way out to Jacksonville, which is a good like hour and a half, 2 hour drive away from me. Because out here, there's just no need for it. The delivery, I can stay closer to home. Less mileage, same amount of money to more money. And my favorite platform aside from my service would probably be DoorDash. They keep me a little bit busier. Uber Eats is almost non-existent. Instacart, the orders come, but the big ones flash like that and it's gone off the screen.
Yeah.
Instacart claims to know about is happening, and where we go on 2 years now of this crap, and they haven't figured it out yet.
Well, we all know that that's the bots stealing the orders. And then, I mean, I've even seen as low as it can go. I've seen people who have bots out there stealing the orders and then reselling them.
Oh shit.
I mean, it's gotten so beyond tragic. Like Instacart should have got on it when everybody was talking about there being bots. And I know that's a tough issue to tackle, but it's when you have the money that a company like Instacart has, you have the money to have a bigger development team to fix issues like that before they get too far out of hand. because now the fact that people can put out bots and retrieve them and sell the orders is just beyond ridiculous. I know people are really like floating their information out there on this one to be able to take those bot orders, but these bot orders can collect like a bunch for you. And I don't know, it's a pretty pathetic service. I wouldn't trust the type of people who are doing it. It's absolutely illegal, goes against the terms of service on every level. And I should know because I have been with Para for a while now, and we have dealt with DoorDash on a legal basis. So I don't know if you used Para when we had it going. Yeah,
it was pretty nice.
It was a game changer. But
Yeah,
our whole argument was, then you guys do it. We weren't even looking to, when they came at us, it was funny because it was like, cease and desist, take this down. And we were like, no, or yeah, okay, we'll take it down, but you put it back up. We're getting the information from you. You have it, put it up for people to see. They deserve to see it. It's, you can't withhold information from ICs. And it was funny because they were like, well, you have, till this date. And on that date, we took it down and we replied to them saying that during the week they could contact us, or they could put tip transparency up, or 1 week from that day at the exact same time we were putting it back up. And we did exactly that. We waited the week. They didn't contact us. This was our attorney's advice too, that this was okay. And we put it back up, and then, or we went the week, nothing heard from them, nothing. And we put it back up. And like within an hour, we had another cease and desist, but this one was a little more heavy handed. It was definitely like, even our lawyer was like, take it down now.
Wow.
So, I guess, we knew. I wrote an article called David and Goliath. If you know, David Pickerel is the CEO and founder of Para.
Right.
And he's somebody I talk to all the time, but I wrote an article and did a podcast on David and Goliath because, it was exactly that. And, I had some people say to me, well, yeah, but David wins. And I'm like, well, David did win. David exposed and Para exposed what the hell was going on.
Right.
We showed people that, look, guys, you should have this information. You should have this much information. You should have the tip. You should see the full amount. And it's even in their data bank. We weren't making this stuff up. We were getting it from them.
Right.
So, this is what DoorDash has. They choose not to show you anything real. And again, they claim cherry picking, and I've had this discussion with a lot of people, so I'll be interested to know your take. So a lot of people loved Para, but some of the people who didn't said, all you've done is you've made people with Para, or Para's made just people on board more onto DoorDash. Now this is a two-part. I used to say to that part, no, we didn't. These were already DoorDashers who just wanted to earn more. People weren't like at home going, there's something called Para. I think I'm going to sign up for DoorDash now. That wasn't happening. These were DoorDashers who just saw the Para as a tool and were like, okay, well, I'm going to use that. And then the other part is that, they say that, well, I actually had people say, saying that by using Para, you're cheating. And I was like, man, you got the game backwards then, because the people cheating are DoorDash.
Right.
The people using the platform, they're cheating by knowing all the information. That used to be my take anyway. I was always confused because a lot of these big dashers too were really against Para, at least vocally, publicly. I was very confused by how many people were, way more people were into Para, obviously, but there was a good amount of people who were like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, you're right, DoorDash should. You're absolutely right. But if they're not gonna, we've been working on tools for gig workers for years, or, since the pandemic started.
Right.
So a year and a half, David and I have been working on projects, and then Para got formed, and now, we're always working on stuff. We're trying to figure out more stuff. So it's, quit being deceitful with the workers, and we don't have to. We don't want to do that either. But a lot of people came down on us and said that, what we were doing was wrong, and we were cheating the system. And it came down to when they were saying about the onboarding, they said that, you're just causing more people to come on the platform. And I said, look, I said, and they said, you can tell by the acceptance rates. And that's when I was like, that's BS. I said, because before we did anything, acceptance rates were already at 5 to 10%.
Right.
People weren't people weren't at 95%, and Para came in and they went to 2. That didn't happen. You were at like 4, and you probably stayed at 4, maybe moved to 3 or even to 5. I don't know, but really the percentages of your acceptance didn't change too much. I mean, whenever people say that to me, I always am like, can you send me a screenshot of your acceptance? And then I've had a couple, but barely ever do they, because I know that they know. They're like, I would have never used Para because blah, blah. And I'm like, then send me a screenshot of your acceptance and your ride count. And they would just not do it because they knew, well, my acceptance is 5%, even though I don't use Para. Well, then you can't claim that argument. I don't know how you feel, but I don't think Para had anything to do with acceptance. It just had to, call it cherry picking, if you will, but it was a forced hand at cherry picking because DoorDash wouldn't be honest with its customers.
I definitely think cherry picking existed long before Power did. Everybody's out there. Anybody who's actually trying to make money at this is out there only taking the orders that look like they might benefit us, financially. So,
which is why acceptance rate doesn't even matter. And we all know this. I know that they've been trying a couple tricks lately. What is it that I heard recently, that they can pause you if you've been letting too many down. But it's funny because these are people who have had a 5% acceptance rating, who have done like 8,000 dashes, and now they're getting paused. That never existed before, or I don't know of it. Maybe it did, but I don't think people were getting paused for acceptance rate ever in the past, were they?
Not that I'm aware of. And it just started happening to me too. I bounced between 20 to 40% acceptance rate. And normally I can go a good while before it'll pause me. Now I think every like 2 to 3 orders I decline, I get paused. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. So
it's definitely something new.
See, and I don't like the word decline, because I think of it more like not accepted.
Right.
It's not like you're declining. You're not accepting that order because it doesn't look good to you. And that's what an IC does. But yeah, I don't know. I've always thought it's kind of weird the way it works, where you can pick up an order and then drop it, because that really can screw up with the system and screw with the people at the final end who have ordered the food. It could take a long time. Drivers are switching. So I could see things like that. Like if you accepted dashes and then dropped them and somebody else had to pick it up and take it, I could see that putting you on a pause. But not accepting, like if 3 rides come through and you're able to go, nope, that shouldn't put you on a pause.
It shouldn't, but it does.
Is there a number to it? Do you know? What is it to get you paused?
Well, for me, on average, about 3 rejections, I guess you can say. But other people will say that they go about 10. I've had some people tell me that they was closer to 20.
So as long as you take 1 out of the next 3, they won't pause you. But if you don't, they'll pause you.
Right.
And for how long?
Unless I unpause it myself, it'll go for about half an hour. And if I don't unpause within that half an hour, it turns my dash off.
Oh, wow.
So
but then what? Then when can you come back on?
As soon as DoorDash feels it's busy enough to let me. If I had top dancer status, I'd be able to just hop back on again, but I'm nowhere near that.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, for an open platform that wants to have independent contractors, and we want to be independent contractors, they sure are fighting the battle for the other side, making it appear like these guys all want to be independent contractors, but we sure would love them to be employees. And I always think, like, dude, this is how people are viewing this. People are viewing that by you doing this, that how could they not force a hand to make people be employees, and which would be a failure to the gig economy, because 85% of us work 25 hours or less a week. And in delivery, I think it's around 10 hours or less is like 85%. So, wow. If you change that flex model, you won't have enough people. Not only will there be franchise models or whatever they go to, but you won't have enough people because people will have jobs, they'll get fired, turnover will be high, and they won't be able to afford to have all these drivers on. So I don't know. It's just crazy to me that these apps handle things the way they do with everything going on in different states and whatnot. And they need to be proving themselves as independent contractor platforms. And they're kind of fighting the battle the other way,
Right.
while we're trying to stay ICs. And it's like, you guys got to quit pulling things away. You got to, I mean, I know we all have our thoughts on it, but like, I mean, I don't know, this pulling down like the base pay, this not giving any information. I think one thing that Para did really good was, we exposed to so many, like how much information you should have on DoorDash.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people were really taken offhand with like, oh my gosh, how do they know all that? When really, if you've used DoorDash, you know how you should know all that, because as the customer, if you're using it, what you're paying, you get to the flow screen for a tip, you're putting it in. So as the driver, you should also, if you've ever used it, wonder, why am I not seeing all that information they're putting in? Why do I see this, little tiny amount for base pay? And I'm not sure what the current one is, but we always hated this includes a tip of whatever it is, $2 or more, $3 or more. Right. I always hated the or more. Like, that's not, I think that's what got us really angered by all this was, you can't do that. You can't just say like, go do this job and then we'll give you some money. How much? I don't know. It's in this envelope, but we're not going to open it till you do it. Like, come on. I mean, I don't know. That's why what I see in you is, I mean, I would think that you'd want to be building everything out, your grocery delivery, any airport rides home, I would be hitting every person up. And it's like, you've already got it going. You've got a lot of things going here.
Focusing on the delivery, but the person I have up in Georgia wants me to expand the rides up there too. It's like, well, let's get one thing going up there at a time. Once that's up and running, then we'll go into but I'm hoping that through how I'm set up, I can kind of take a lot of people away from DoorDash, both customers and the contractors. Because the way I charge is a lot easier on the eyes to the customers, because you don't have, there's no commissions to the merchants. It's a completely free thing to them. I'm not taking any of their money. I mean, the profit margin is slimming up as it is. And the customers have one fee. That's a delivery fee. There's not you got your delivery fee, your service charge, or this charge, or that. No, it's one delivery fee.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that works is delivery only is a flat $15. Doesn't matter the distance. But if we have to go and order for you, or if it's a grocery order and we got to go in and shop for you, if it's below $100 for the total grocery order, you pay between $20 and $25, depending on what store you're shopping. If it goes above that mark, then you're paying 20 and 25%, depending on the store.
Right.
So you always know how much you're paying. And then out of that, not only do the drivers see, well, where do they got to go and where's the customer, but they get the entire tip shown to them, plus 40% of the delivery fee goes to them, shown to them. So they got all the information right there. And then out of the remaining 60%, I got to cover all the employment, taxes for my management. I got to pay management. I got to pay all the overhead that, And so I think it works out to where if I'm lucky, I have like 2.5% left to myself.
Right.
But I'm trying to be fair to, all involved, low enough for the customers, high enough pay to the drivers.
Well, I mean, when you're, and working on the $100 point, that's 15%. That's not bad. I mean, that's what you should be tipping, but you're just talking about the service. So there should absolutely be a place for a tip on top too.
Right.
Whether it be cash or not, I don't know. Before we wrap up here, what are you looking to promote most? Your delivery and whatnot? I'm going to put all the links to Red stuff up, and you guys can, I'm just going to put the one that he says up at the top, because I'm guessing it's deliveries based on our conversation today and whatnot. Is that really what I know you're promoting it all as your business, and that's what we always tell people to do. Treat this like your business, because it is your business. Even if you are working these platforms, don't get confused on what the companies tell you. Like, you're an Uber partner, and then you're like, I'm not a partner. You guys rip me off and you take this much. You still are your own business, people. I mean,
Right.
that's up to you to say, hey, that's too much. I don't, that's why I always say sign up for every app, be gig literate, be able to like switch apps, have them all going, even if you don't use them once so that you're in their system, but have them available, because they'll never say it and you'll never hear it in the news, but these companies trade information. They trade data on us. They want to see how much has this person ever been on the Instacart platform? Have they been on this? And if they see that you're on a bunch, you actually do hold a little bit of a higher position with them, probably in terms of how they mark your account and how they would act in deactivating you or whatnot. Because if they find out you're only with them and they get an issue with you, they're probably more likely to deactivate you. If they find out you're on other platforms, they're probably a little more hesitant because they know that you won't, that's not going to be a big problem for you. I feel like if they are getting your other data, they know they can take a little more advantage of you if you're only working one platform. And I got to tell you, I mean, some people could argue that this doesn't happen, but I'm telling you folks, I truly believe every one of these companies knows exactly what platforms you work. Maybe not how much, maybe not how often, maybe not any deep diving into it, but just which ones you're on. And I won't say any more than that.
They definitely do. I mean, a couple months ago, it came out that they all share information as far as your insurance goes.
Right.
So if they're sharing that much, what else are they sharing?
Well, but that was right. But I mean, that was, who's carrying insurance. First of all, we all know that they don't, because every one of these platforms lets 80% of its people work with improper insurance. So what do you mean you're collecting insurance info? I mean, then you're finding out that 80% of the people aren't covered by the right insurance on Rideshare, for one. On deliveries, even, you're supposed to carry something. And Uber Eats, I know they don't. On Uber Eats, I know that, as long as it's just Uber Eats, you can let somebody else work your spot. But my Uber Eats platform is in my Uber driver platform. So what's to stop that person from turning on driver and driving as me? I think it was a bad idea to let people know that people can use your platform.
Right.
As long as they can use your car because it's just food. Well, yeah, but then make the platform separate. You can't have Uber Eats and Rideshare in one, because if they switch over and, then it's not covered by my insurance. And I don't know. It just went against everything we had been told forever when they started allowing that. But I think the solution for everybody is to, you don't necessarily need to develop your own app. You don't necessarily need to do this, but like what you're doing, and that's kind of what I tell people to do, like go get a website and start an LLC. Those two things are very cheap. To get a domain, to get it hosted, to put something up, and to go get an LLC even is pretty cheap. Get one, even if you don't know what you're going to do with it, then start putting all the things that you do on it. Make a business card, whatever you want to do, promote it however you want, and work the platforms, but also work your business, because all of this in the end, people, is your business. This is how you make your money. And if you love one platform and you only work that one, it's still how you make your money. I mean, this is your business. And I know a lot of people just don't wrap their head around that, but it is your business. So treat it as such. If you want to make more money, then do things like Red's done here and come up with a website and offer some services and see what else you don't get. We were talking at Para at one point about letting everybody have a profile, and that, like if you were a house painter, but you were doing Rideshare, that in your profile, you could put house painter. And then people could say, hey, they're in your Rideshare, and somehow we'd get them that information, just like how we were getting tip transparency. We'd get you the information saying, oh, this guy's a painter too. And like, maybe you live in, the city you live in, you were just going to have your house painted. And you're like, hey, you paint houses? Yeah, that's my primary business. Okay, well, can you give me a bid? Work yourself. I don't know. It's something needs to come out in that type nature, like profiles or bidding. Like David said, when we talked a couple weeks back, he said it in a really good way. He said, we need to find a way. This is David from Para. We need to find a way to get it so that each person is logging into Para, and all of the apps that they work are bidding on their time. I'm like, that's a big call. I get it. But I love the idea, you know, because that's how it should be. They should be fighting for your time.
Right.
So, you know, we thought that would be a better way for pay, but I'll list all this stuff in the show notes. I guess I'll start off with the delivery. Then maybe just put your main site and then whatever underneath it. But check it out and check out what he's doing. And even if you're not in his area, take a look at what he's doing so that maybe in your area you want to do something like that, you know. And yeah, I don't know. Thanks, Red, for coming on today. Really appreciated it.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.